Lisa here. Welcome back to my channel and welcome to my several days past due weekly deck reviews. So you guys know that I normally like to put this video up on Sundays, but I was out of town this past weekend hanging out with my sister and I just really wanted to film this now. I know it's several days later, but I still want to tell you guys how these decks worked out for me. So welcome and let's get into it. So as you probably saw, if you watched my favorites video, then you already know that I am pretty pleased with my Little Monsters Tarot. So this deck is by Olivia Ephraim, Pepper, and Peony Coin Archer. Yeah, Peony Coin Archer. This is the guidebook, which is sold separately. You don't have to buy the guidebook with the tarot deck, but I highly recommend the guidebook. I really enjoyed the messages in here. I really enjoyed the insights that I got from this book, and I really enjoyed using it alongside the deck. This is my most exciting trim ever because I actually trimmed this deck into an oval. There's one thing about this cardstock I will point out. It really likes to grab fingerprints. I don't know why. It's not like a glossy deck, but it's not a completely matte deck either. This was a scissor trim, so for those of you who have been asking, I used scissors, and basically Peggy kind of coached me through this, and I practiced on business cards, but this was a square card. You can see what the deck looked like originally in my flip through or walkthrough video, which I will link up in the cards, but yeah, they were originally about oracle card size, so pretty large, and there was already a black outline oval on the front, and the backs were this oval design, and then white space surrounded. So I had this feeling that it was meant to be an oval deck, and when I looked, it looked like originally this deck was a Kickstarter, and it was an oval deck. Woo! I'm throwing the cards, you guys. So all I did was I held my scissors, and I just slowly, like very slowly, moved the card as I cut. And for the most part, it was all one piece that came off. The sides were pretty close to the edges, so if I wasn't sure if I needed a break, I would cut from this point to this point, and then I would do a new cut. But I tried not to do that because I felt like it was smoother if I just very slowly just kept scissoring and rotating the card. It's not perfect for sure, so let me just show you kind of, I don't know how well this will show, but you can tell there's definitely, I mean, I'm holding it kind of funky too, but these are not smoothly perfect edges, you see? So, but I knew that going in, and I was willing to sacrifice the smooth perfection of an exactly matched deck just to have that oval shape. But I followed the lines on the front, and when it was all done, I edged this deck. Let me show you some new cards. I edged this deck in black, and some of the black did bleed a little bit. So there's a little bit of messiness to the edges, but I don't care. I love this deck. I really enjoyed working with it. I do plan to perhaps someday pull out some fine point Sharpie markers and add some pops of color, which I think I talked about in my favorites video. This deck is really quite charming. It has a lot of personality. It's pretty quirky. I don't know why I was so attracted to this deck, given that it is black and white, since that is not normally my jam. I really love me some bright colors, but I really enjoyed working with it, and a big part of that is definitely the shape. There was something about working with a different shaped deck that just felt neat. I don't know how else to describe it. I feel like a few times I pulled cards and I felt like I went a little deeper. I got out of my head and out of my own way. And I know I say that a lot, but like different decks do this more effectively than others. I won't say every single image is like I didn't have a lot of cards in here. I'm like, this is my favorite 3 of Cups ever. You know what I mean? And yet, there was a lot of really powerful images and a lot of really powerful messages. And I will say that I got some really fantastic reads out of this deck, particularly when I was working with the guidebook. So I really enjoyed working with this one. I'm super happy to have it in my collection. It is the only deck, obviously, like this that I have. It's nothing like my Mons Tarot, which was honestly my concern because I used to get this deck, and when I would hear people talking about the Little Monsters Tarot, I would get this one confused with the Mons Tarot by Joanna Nelson. And the Mons Tarot says on the box, a deck of little monsters or something like that. So there is some name confusion that can sometimes happen, but my Mons Tarot is a very colorful Rider-Waite-Smith feeling deck. This one kind of sidesteps a bit away from Rider-Waite-Smith. You can still see Rider-Waite-Smith meanings in these images, but there's definitely a few places where it goes its own way, but in a way that doesn't feel confusing or disjointed. Like, it definitely follows along with the theme of the deck. And I just really, really, really enjoyed working with it. I did several larger spreads for myself with this deck. I do really, really love this Child of Cups, and I notice it every time it comes up. I wouldn't say it's my favorite ever. I also really enjoy this Four of Cups and the way that it's like sheltered and kind of you're in your security blanket. But what I really liked, you guys, was working with some of the messages in the guidebook. I feel like there were some fresh perspectives in here, and I would say that if this is a deck you're considering picking up, definitely spring for the guidebook, because there's some good stuff in there, and I think I would have really missed that if that wasn't in there, and I don't know if I would have connected to this deck quite the same way without the guidebook. So really enjoyed this one. The cardstock is nice, and I can still kind of rifle shuffle it in this oval shape, but it's a bit of a challenge, I'll be honest. So I mostly hand over hand this, and yeah, this is my most bravest trim job ever, but I love these little eggies, and it was fun. So no regrets. I really enjoyed working with it. And once it was trimmed, it fit even better in this little Peggy bag. And this is one of the very first ones she ever made. And it was a little shorter than her current ones. So it just was it was a match made in heaven. This little bag and that oval trim deck, and yeah, no complaints. The other deck that I was working with this week, or the Oracle deck I was working with this past week, so not this week, but last week, was this Inner Star Oracle. This is by the Darling Tree, and it's designed by Joe Klima, K-L-I-M-A. There is the back of the box. This is a really beautiful independent oracle deck, and I will say, if I'm going to be nitpicky, I'm not overly fond of the backs. I don't love that there's this figure for two reasons, and they're very personal. So, number one, I am a yogi and a yoga teacher, and this stereotypical image of somebody sitting in lotus position just annoys me, because lots of yogis don't look like this. Lots of yogis don't do lotus pose. So it annoys me on principle. That's it. But it is very beautiful. I love the colors. And I have to say, there was actually a surprise for me in this deck. Let's see if I can find some good examples. You have to look really closely, and I don't know if the camera will pick it up. It might. So you have these beautiful sacred geometry sigil-like shapes in the foreground, and then a title, a keyword. In the background, there is actually an image, like a photograph, with a lot of color laid over top, probably digitally. So this is actually an underwater scene, and I believe there is a scuba diver or a turtle. You guys, my eyes are not the best, but throughout the week when I was working with this deck, I started to notice, for example, there is eyes in the background of this one. Do you see the eyes? Or eye? And I started to notice those because when I first flipped through this deck, I thought these were just mostly solid. Look, you can see a figure up here. You can actually start to see that there's things happening in the background. And I thought that was really cool because instead of it feeling like just generic backgrounds, the backgrounds started to take on some meaning. And I really thought that was cool, especially because they're so subtle, because the color laid over top is pretty thick and more opaque, so you can't really catch some of the images. You kind of know what you're looking at, but you kind of don't, at least me with my eyeballs. And I really, really enjoyed that. I also found that the sigils themselves made sense with the keyword or titles on the cards. And this read really, really nice next to the Little Monsters Tarot. Little Monsters had no color, so this gave me color, but it wasn't like a really vividly, dynamically colored, drawn deck that would pull me away from the universe in the Little Monsters Tarot. It's really hard for me to not want to like figure out what's in all of these now. Projecting oneself. Yeah, it's almost like I can see it better when it's on the camera. But you can see some shapes, and sometimes I can pick them out and sometimes I can't. But I just think that's really cool. There is quite a few cards in this deck, and maybe not. Maybe it's only 40 something, but I thought it was 55. So that's pretty decent. I find myself getting a little bit whiny when Oracle decks come out. Yeah, see, there's two little deer in the background of this card. Do you see them? Soul connection. But I find myself getting a little whiny with Oracle decks these days when they don't have more than like 30-ish cards. 40s kind of feel skimpy to me. So I like them to be chunky. I like chunky oracle decks. I love this though. This is a great all-arounder, and this is definitely a deck that I feel like would be good in both larger spreads and smaller spreads, which is what I kind of look for. I like my oracle decks to feel like they can be versatile and not super one note. I do tend to draw 1 to 2 oracle cards at a time most of the time, but I do also sometimes reach for oracle decks for my larger spreads, and so I like having decks like this in my collection that I feel like can do that, and I definitely think this one can. I feel like a lot of the titles give you a big jumping off point as an intuitive reader. That's the place that I'm kind of coming at this from. The little messages in the, oops, that's the lid. The little messages in the guidebook, I should say the little white book that comes with it, are also pretty decent. You get a full page and then you get an affirmation. Now I enjoyed writing these affirmations down in my tarot journal throughout the week, last week, and just kind of holding the space for that message if I was only drawing 1 card at a time and it wasn't for a specific read. Like if it was like a card of the day, I really enjoyed that. So I really had fun with this deck. Super happy that I picked it up. It's beautiful, and I do have the Soul Cards Tarot, which is another sigil-based deck on my wish list, and I have it in my head that this would look and work beautifully next to it, so hopefully that comes into my collection at some point and I can try that out for you guys. All in all, both of the decks I worked with last week were a total win as far as I'm concerned. They were fun, they did what I wanted them to do, they kept me thinking and processing and pulling new information. That's one of the things I realized that I really enjoy about having a larger deck collection, is I really enjoy getting new and fresh and different perspectives on every single card, because I feel like that's really deepened my tarot knowledge in general, and it's really just helped me feel more connected to myself. So these guys definitely helped me. So here I'm going to talk about, oh wait, one more thing. This was the reading cloth I worked with last week, and I love, I'm holding it sideways. I love this moon phase design. I love it so much. And Peggy put on the back of this one for me this like gray marbly kind of fabric, and this fabric looked great behind my Mons Tarot, or not my Mons Tarot. See, I just did it. I just said I wasn't going to get them mixed up, and then I got them mixed up. But behind my little Monsters Tarot, I just smacked myself in the face with the strings. You guys, I'm making my Sunday video on Tuesday and I'm hitting myself in the face. This is just how this video is going to go. Anyway, I enjoyed working with this. But it looked good on here, is what I was saying, because it's black and white. And I didn't want, well, it did look good actually on here too, but I found that the Oracle deck, am I holding it upside down again? I'm holding it sideways again. I'm so bad at this. The Oracle deck that I was using also looked good on here, but not as good as on here. So I had fun with that. That was the one I worked with. This week, I have been working with, I'll show you the cloth first, just because it's right in front of me. This is a fabric by Gustav Klimt. Like, the design is from Gustav Klimt. There is a Klimt tarot. I don't have it, but I just really like how gold and pretty and beautiful, I said pretty and beautiful, it's both, that this cloth is. And I have mine with a black velvet backing, which I really, really love. And I picked this one because the tarot deck I am working with this week, I'm actually keeping it. Okay, you guys, I don't even know if I've ever shown this bag on my channel. So this is a prototype that Peggy made earlier on in her sewing life. And this is a 2-deck bag. It pretty much comfortably holds either 2 little standard size decks, so it's open like this, or 2 decks in a tin. So it's kind of like it's pretty snugly fits a standard deck. Anyway, I'm working with this, so I've got my Oracle deck in one side and my tarot deck in the other, and it's got cute little ladybugs all over. I've got 2 of these, but this is my favorite. And it's got this little handle, and it's like super cute. It's like a 2-deck clutch. I loves it. I do. But anyways, when I open this up, here's what I am working with tarot-wise this week. So you may not recognize it by the backs, but you might recognize it by the fronts. So I am actually working with the deck of the Bastard this week. This was an early birthday gift from my sister Jennifer, and I love it. So far, you know, spoiler alert and all. But what I'm actually really loving about it is, so she got me the custom backs because I am not a fan of spiders, and the original backing has a spider on it. So no thank you to the spider. And she got it for me in the plastic cardstock, which is pretty sweet. It does have a funky smell. Like, I'm a deck sniffer and I really like the smell of like ink and like paper. And this doesn't have that ink and paper smell. It does rifle shuffle beautifully though. But this deck, if you're not familiar with it, has Rider-Waite-Smith images in the minors in this distressed look. The aces are from different tarot decks, like historical tarot decks. And I think some just historical art. The majors are also from some historical decks. Somebody who actually knows which can, I think Atea is the majors. I think Soprafino is in here somewhere. I don't know. But there's some historic decks in here for sure. But I got mine with the titles on the sides and the keywords. So there's a upright keyword and a reversed keyword, or keywords. And Jen knew I wanted all that, so this is the version she got me, and it is perfect. So I'm really enjoying working with it, and what I'm really liking is shuffling in reversals, because I don't normally read with reversals, but for some reason with this particular deck, because of the keywords, I think I'm really enjoying mixing in reversals and just doing it that way that I used to read, and flipping over, and if it's reversed, paying attention to the, well, this one's upright. Paying attention to the upright keyword if it's upright, paying attention to the reversed keyword. No, that's still upright. You know what I mean though, right? I'm just going to keep flipping through cards. What's neat about this deck is that it is, each card, the art is altered a little bit differently to give it a worn and distressed look. And I legit love that this is plastic cardstock and is waterproof. I know I'm doing a terrible job of showing cards. But it's waterproof, so I could like legit take this in the bathtub if I wanted to do readings and play around, which I may do, because I may do a little bubble bath tonight for the new moon, and do maybe my new moon reading. Anyway, see, like, look, see how that's got like that staining up top? Yeah, so it's, and I like that the backs have that kind of distressed look as well. But yeah, that is the tarot deck I'm working with so far this week. I will let you guys know how it works out at the end of the week, but so far so good. And the Oracle deck I picked to work alongside it. I picked mostly because its tones are darker, and I felt like anything too bright next to the Deck of the Bastard would be too jarring looking, and I'm very much about like how, like, I want things to look kind of cohesive when I'm working with them. So I am working with the Illuminated Earth Oracle by Claire Mack. This is what the backs look like. I'm pretty sure I have reviewed this deck before on my channel in a weekly deck review, but it's a really, really wonderful deck. It's one of my favorites. It's got really wonderful keywords, beautiful cardstock. I've edged mine in a dark blue. It's got a very like sort of grounded and earthy feel, and I really enjoy it. So I was like, this will be good next to the Deck of the Bastard. And I'm really enjoying too pulling one or two cards beside my tarot card of the day, because I feel like my tarot cards, given that this is like a very classical kind of deck, are giving me very simple, straightforward messages, and so using one or two oracle cards is nice to kind of expand on those messages. So fun stuff. So this is what I'm working with this week. And that, my friends, is all I've got for you today. So I will probably be touching base with you again at some point this week. But if not, or even if so, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your week. And I will see you all again very, very soon. Talk to you later, guys. Bye!